Let's do a little bit more work on this beautiful compass from Enchanted Forest, Joanna Besford. Of course, solely done with Luminance by Caran. I read that there is a new book coming from Joanna Besford, World of Flowers. And I'm looking forward to that. My favorite book, coloring book, still is Joanna's very first coloring book, Secret Garden. Secret Garden was the first book that I bought. I was immediately addicted to coloring. I loved it. So now with this new book coming, I think Joanna will again add a lot of joy to the coloring world. I'm sometimes making mistakes with focusing my camera. That has everything to do with the new position that I figured out for the camera, but the downside is that I have to get used to the new position, and then sometimes I'm coloring in an area where you cannot see it. So I hope I will be able to get adjusted to this new camera position very soon. So I'm using bismuth yellow to add a touch of color to the leaves. After a couple of weeks of very little recording, because there was just no time for it, I'm really looking forward to making a lot of recordings. This color is called Anthraquinoid Pink. Very difficult name. Just adding a touch of it here and there. The last couple of weeks, the month of April was almost completely caught up by traveling. First we went to the UK, and then we went to Germany, to a city called Erlangen. It is north of the city of Nuremberg. And my husband and I, we were there for a week. My husband was there for business, and I decided to join him, and I tried to working on the watercolor along project, and that worked out a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. But it was a very nice trip. I did some painting, some working, and the city had a beautiful botanical garden, and that was really nice. They had an area with bulbs like tulips and daffodils. They had a couple of ponds. The frogs went completely crazy. I think I can show you a little bit of footage from those frogs. I recorded some. I hope I still have that tiny little video. And there were beautiful, beautiful trees. Yeah, very beautiful trees. And there were greenhouses too. And inside they had a lot of tropical plants and trees. So that was very interesting to see. And the weather was beautiful, and the fruit trees in the area, they were all blossoming. Beautiful white cherry trees, apple trees, white blossoms. It was beautiful. Now let's take a look at this twig or branch. I think I should make this dark. I hope I'm right on that. I hope I'm right. I'm starting out with a russet. It is a reddish brown. Looks a little bit like burnt sienna, I think, or raw sienna. And when my husband finished working in the city there, we had a couple of days to do some sightseeing on our way back home. Here I have another pencil, and this one is called burnt sienna. So let's see what the difference is. Yeah, this burnt sienna has a slightly cooler tone. There's less red in it. The trip to Germany also was a great opportunity to practice speaking German. And I have to admit to you, oh dear, my camera is still, I really need to get used to this. Anyway, in the first days of being in Germany, I had a little trouble with understanding the locals. In Germany, you have, like in any other country, you have these dialects or a certain way of pronouncing words. And we were in the province called Bayern, Bavaria, and they have their own dialects there. And I really had trouble understanding them. But luckily, finally, after a couple of days, I got the hang on of it, and it went better. This is the darkest green in the set of 72 Caran Luminance. 76, I'm sorry. Castle Earth. So adding a touch of extra dark, and I'm going to do that on very specific areas. Where the blue background is slightly lighter, I will add this very dark brown so I can create contrast. So when it became clear that my German skills were not good enough, I started watching a lot of documentaries in the hotel. I had my iPad with me and I started watching beautiful documentaries about nature, and I even saw a documentary about the Canaries, the Canaric Islands. It is Spain, about the political situation or the problems with very poor people not being able to find a house that they can afford. Well, I finally managed to understand what it was all about. So practicing German eventually paid off. Let's take a look. That looks really nice. I like it. And here I have a white pencil, buff titanium. I'm going to use that one to mix the colors in the leaves a little bit. And some of you suggested that what I'm exactly doing, the mixing on the paper, might be blending, and you could be right. People suggested that, and that could be the case. Now, I never use blending pencils, so I'm not sure if this is exactly the same. Well, it isn't, because I am, so to speak, blending with color instead of colorless wax pencils. But maybe the end result is the same, could well be. Oh. I'm really looking forward to summer holidays where I can do a lot of coloring and painting. I'm really looking forward to that. At the moment there are quite a lot of voice singing students, so I'll have to do a lot of teaching, but I like that too. So let's take a step back. I'm not really sure where those leaves are going, but I do think going slow will eventually be the best approach. And I really like to be surprised by the drawing, so I'll allow, so to speak, I'll allow the drawing to tell me what it wants to look like. Here I have oh yeah, this is one of the special ones, burnt ochre 10%. Very interesting color. Let's take a look at this fox. If I hadn't said to myself to only use Luminance pencils, then I would not, for this what I'm going to do now, I would have chosen a much harder pencil, maybe even Erogeton or Pro Color. But let's try with Castle Earth first, because I want to make some very fine detail in the fur. And as you can see, even the best pencils in the world cannot do everything. I think it's impossible for anything to be able to do everything. It's impossible for people, but it is impossible for pencils as well. And what I'm doing now is completely not what I intended. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Here is a photo of a fox in one of my nature books, and I thought that the inside of the ears of the fox are completely white. Luckily, that is not the case. So what I just did here is not that bad, but I think it would be wise to pick a lighter tone first. Burnt ochre, burnt ochre 50%. And maybe I should add that burnt ochre here as well. Oh, we have a little animal here. Look, we have a visitor. I don't know what it is. Some sort of fly, moth. I have no idea. It is teeny tiny. Let's get back to the ears of the fox's ears are black on the back side, so let's add a little bit of black. And I'm going to add a touch of black to the nose as well. Yeah, that's good. I'm using a very loose touch now. I don't want to ruin anything. Now let's add a touch of pink, extra pink to the leaves, and this pink is called, oh yeah, that's the difficult name, Anthraquinoid pink. Very difficult. Right. Oh. So here I have a dark brown called sepia. Now I sharpened the pencil to a very sharp point, but because these Luminance pencils are so soft, tiny chunks are coming off. Are you guys following the news? Because there is something extraordinary happening on the island of Hawaii. I don't know. Is there anyone from Hawaii watching my videos? I don't know. But, you know, as you may know, Hawaii is very volcanic. There are a lot of volcanoes there, and on the large island, there is this Kilauea volcano, and I'm very, very interested in earthquakes, volcanic activity, storms, stuff like that. I'm fascinated by the force of nature, and there's something extraordinary is happening because if I have understood it well, then there is a crater that collapsed, and there was a lot of lava in that crater, and the collapse forced the lava or magma to go search for another way out, and it found a way out. Gosh, it did. It found an underground tube, a tunnel that led the lava into an area miles away from the crater. But in that area, there are houses and people living, and black. There's the color black. So that lava traveled underground, and then at several places, cracks started to become visible in the ground, and then the cracks would produce gases and steaming and sizzling and strange sounds. And there were also cracks that were producing fountains of lava, very high fountains of lava. Spectacular. I'm following it on YouTube. I'm grateful for YouTube. The local news of Hawaii is also broadcasting on YouTube, and they have very thorough they give very thorough information. They broadcast the updates that are being given to the locals, people who live there. So scientists are explaining about how that volcano functions and what to be expected, and I'm learning a lot. So far, no casualties over there. I hope that stays it stays that way, no casualty. But homes have been destroyed, being taken by the lava. This color is called yellow ochre. So that's a tragedy for the people who lost their homes. And what's also striking there in Hawaii, they have great respect for the volcanoes, and a local tradition says there is this goddess living in the volcanoes, the goddess Madame Pele. So I learned something about that too. So I'm here in the Netherlands, on the other side of the world, and I am able to follow what's happening in Hawaii thanks to the internet. 20 years ago, this would have been completely impossible. So let's take a step back. I really like that, what I just did, the dark branches. So I'm now going to add a little more darkness here on this ring. This color is called burnt sienna. Now let's see if I can make a connection between this, the colors of the branch and the colors of the leaves. So I'm going here to add anthracinoid pink. Impossible name.